the first slide says protecting yourself, family, employees, and customers. And the theme in a business or estate planning generally, as those of us in the crowd that are estate planners, are the same. What do we want to do? We want to minimize the hassle. We want to take care of the family, and we want to plan for taxes. That's what we really want to do. We want to do the same thing with business. I would divide this slide and say, when we're talking about a business, we want to protect ourselves. We all saw the movie City Slickers, or some of us saw the movie City Slickers, when Jack Palance is sitting out on the horse and he's got all the city slickers out there, and he sits on the horse and what does he do? Holds up the finger one, right? Says always take care of yourself first. And so take care of yourself and your family. So I think that's what you want to do in estate planning and in a business interest. You want to protect your employees and customers, but not in the same fashion. By protecting your employees and customers, you create value, and that helps protect yourself and your family, because employees and customers create a lot of value in your business. So you want to make sure that you protect them. We know for sure 100% of us will exit your business. We hear it frequently, what's inevitable? Death and taxes. So everybody's going to exit their business, so you need to plan for that. And like my colleague said, plan ahead of time. We don't know how long we're gonna live, and some of us are undoubtedly going to live well beyond the life expectancy of the people in here. But we all experience the situation where somebody dies unexpectedly, well before their time, and they don't have their self in a position to deal with that. Why do people come in and do an estate plan when they're in their 20s and 30s? When their life expectancy is 50 or 60 more years? Because we don't know what's going to happen. So you want to plan. You want to plan for the inevitable. You want to plan for your business as if you're going to be in it for 20 more years, but have a plan in place if something happens to you sooner than expected. Remember these. What can happen? Well, death, disability, disagreements, and divorce. It's become a very important topic in today's estate planning and business planning situation, is protecting for divorce. When we sit down and we talk to families and we're doing their estate plan, one of the things they want to do is make sure that their children are protected in their inheritance from a bad marriage. They like to take an extra step and maybe protect them from themselves or creditors, but the one thing that they all seems to get everybody's attention is protecting them from divorce. So, even though the situation's uncontrollable, you have some control of your family, employees, and customers and what they'll experience. So you want to try and control the controllables and recognize the uncontrollables, and you want to do this through a series of different things. So what are the de-risking activities that you want to be prepared for? Death or disability. How do you protect for death if you're a business owner? Well, you do an estate plan. And in the estate plan, but in addition to that, you have to have a plan in place for the operation of your business. That could be a notebook or a Bible or a guideline that says, here's how I operate. Most owners don't do that. Some owners do that. You can protect your key employees by getting them to sign an employment agreement, and recognize that the employment agreement is important in making them feel comfortable. It can create a compensation plan that gives them the reason to stay. It can create both a vesting program to get them to stay while you're there long term, and you can also create what's called a stay bonus. So if something happens to me and I transition out of the business, I'm going to give you a bonus if you stay with the next ownership structure for a couple years. You want to be able to have shareholder agreements. Shareholder agreements are important even in a family-owned business. We have a situation where we had a client that had passed the business on to their family. They got down to the third generation. They had 6 children, all in the business, no problem. Then they had 16 grandchildren in the business, and for a while, no problem. And it took one bad grandchild and one bad situation to cause all kinds of havoc. They did not have a shareholder agreement in place for this situation. You say, well, they're my family. What do we need a shareholder agreement? Well, you need a shareholder agreement even when there's a predominantly family-owned business. You need it in that situation so that you prevent the situation. That became an uncontrollable situation when the one grandchild went off the reservation, but it could have been controlled if you would have had a shareholder agreement in place that had a series of protections, not only the standard protections that you would think about. You can't sell your stock to a third party. That would have helped in this situation. But it also would have helped to have a limitation of remedies and a limitation of liabilities section, which said, in the event that you're unhappy, here's what you can do, and here's the maximum liability we can face. So if you're unhappy, we have an option to call your stock in. Basically, we're going to set. You're not going to sue us for breach of fiduciary duty. You're not going to sue us for a deadlock company. In that situation, we're going to protect for that. You want to create and review your estate plan, and there's some situations where you have a business where this is important. One, if you've got partners or other shareholders that are not family members, then you want to protect your family and make sure that when you die, they get fair value for your business. And you do that with a shareholder agreement with your other, or an operating agreement that has a buy-sell provision that protects you and says, this is, one, how my interest will be valued. Two, this is how my family's going to get paid. And three, this is how they're going to be protected for the payment. I grew up in the grocery business. And my father passed away in 1962 when I was 13 years old, and he had a partner in his business. My father did not have, at that point in time, proper protection in place to protect my mother and my two sisters. So we got paid for his interest in the business, but we got paid a fraction of what his interest was worth, and his partner went on. By the way, it was a business that my father started. He brought in the partner. It's a business he started, but by not having the protection in place, the partner made a lot of money, and we kind of weren't protected as we should have been. Some of the things so that's if you have outside interest. It's more difficult sometimes when you have families in the business. Sometimes you have a lot of family in the business. Sometimes you only have a small part of businesses in the family. We have a situation where a client passed away, and he left his business in 6 equal shares to his 6 children. One was the CEO, one was the CFO, and one was the director of marketing. It didn't take long before he hadn't protected his family because there was no mechanism to deal with family fights. That litigation cost millions of dollars. It's still up on appeal. We're waiting for a ruling from the appellate court in Illinois. My best guess is that the appellate court is going to send the case back down to the circuit court to try it again with instructions on how to try it. That could have been prevented if the father had said, we have to have a solution for a situation so that my family, who I wanted to protect, doesn't fight. So you have a situation here where you've got siblings that probably are never going to talk again. That's, not only have you got not only is the business lost value, not only have they all spent a bunch of money on attorney's fees, but you have a family that's dysfunctional now and they won't talk. Proper planning should avoid that family fight. Another situation we face in estate planning that's unique is where you have a business that's the principal asset of the estate, and 1 or 2 of the children are involved in the business, but the others aren't. And you go in with the basic concept that I want to be fair to all of my children. I'm going to give each child an equal share of my estate. So you have to create, with proper planning, a structure that protects the individuals that are going to be in the business so they can operate the business on a sound financial structure, protect the other children who may have a disproportionate share of the remainder of your estate, but may also be creditors to the other children that are in the business. So it's important that you structure that in such a fashion so that you protect all of your family in that arena. You can do it a couple of ways. You can say, these children are going to get the business. Here's how it's going to be valued. The other children get the other assets, and there'll be a debt created back to the other children. You then try and protect these children so that they have a chance to get their fair value of the estate, but you also protect the children with the business by saying, you've got this payment schedule. The typical was, you've got this payment schedule, but if you can never pay over 50% of your EBITDA or cash flow from the business, and if you have a bad year and you can't make the payments, well, we're not going to reduce the debt, but we're not going to put you in a debt distress situation. We're just going to extend the payments. I'm probably off the slides, but that's okay. That's because I'm out of slides. So that's the third situation you have to try and avoid. Reminds me of the story of the business owner whose son graduated at the University of Missouri, and he came into Dad, and Dad said to the son, he said, "Congratulations on graduating from the University of Missouri. I'm so proud of you. Here, I'm giving you half of my business. I want you to be my COO. You're going to go out in the plant. You're going to oversee the production. You're going to oversee the workforce. You're going to make sure we continue to produce the products efficiently at a lowest cost possible." The son says, "Dad, it's noisy out there. It's dirty out there. I don't want to work out in the factory. I can't take the people in operations. I don't want to do that." The dad says, "Okay, I'm going to bring you in, son. I'm going to make you my CFO. I'm going to put you in charge of my accounts payable, my accounts receivable, oversee my administrative staff, take care of them, run the office." "Oh, Dad, I've never been good inside. I don't like dealing with those people. Accountants are, I don't want to deal with that." And the father looked at him, he said, "Son, I offered you the COO position. I offered you the CFO position. You don't want either one. What am I going to do with you?" And he says, "I've got an easy solution." The father says, "What's that?" He said, "Buy me out." So you don't want to put yourself in that situation, and you can do that by protecting your family with one, being prepared, having your business prepared if you die unexpectedly. Protect your employees, reward them, but also protect them so that they can't go out and all of a sudden they take away your business value because they're competing with your business, they're soliciting your customers. So you tie them up so that they stay with the transition team and you reward them for it, and you put in a non-compete and a non-solicitation provision. If you have a partner or another member of an LLC or a shareholder, you put in an agreement that calls for buy-sell on death or disability. If it's a family business, you try and make sure that somebody can run the business. If something happens to you, if that's not a family member, for the transition, you reward your key employees and get them to stay. You make everybody sign a shareholder agreement, even if it's family, that protects, lawyers are good in the planning stage. You really don't want to deal with us on the other side of the aisle where we're in litigation. And we really don't, commercial practice lawyers don't like litigation. We do it, but our goal is to try and prevent our clients from doing litigation. So you put some provisions in there to protect from that. And then you talk to your children. You bring them in, you educate them, and you make sure that if they're going to be involved or they're going to be responsible, you have to educate them. Spend some time to educate them and inform them of what they have to do.